Well, this is the last one for 2025. As you can see behind me, this beautiful Christmas tree. It marks the season we call Christmas. And when the angels appeared to the shepherds, they told the shepherds that they have come to announce peace on earth. The birth of Jesus supposedly would bring peace on earth. But as we look at the world today, in the last 12 months alone, we see that there's no peace. Whether you think economics, politics, military, or whatever, it seems that the world is somehow going mad. The planet is going mad. The human world is going mad. Countries are fighting that haven't had war with each other before. Old wars keep going on, and the more people talk about peace and give out Nobel Peace Prize and so on, the more war there seems to be. What's different about 2025 is the sheer number of conflict zones that have appeared, and the sheer amount of economic zones with problems that have appeared, and the use of social media to stir up hatred between the nations. So you've got to wonder, as a Christian, where is this peace that was promised? When you hear the voices of right-wing Christianity in certain countries speak against the very idea of peace, but rather looking at themselves in terms of how to make it a Christian nation, the rise of Christian nationalism on the one end, and then extremism in other religious groups as well. So when the angel said to the shepherds, peace on earth, the birth of the Christ child was meant to create that atmosphere, that ambiance of peace for the world. But you see, even those early Christians did not really have peace. They did not have Christmas trees either. They gave their lives for their faith. The history of Christianity is a history of torture and persecution, death and martyrdom. It's always been that way. And I assume it will always remain that way. I think the peace that the Christmas story brings is not political, military, economic. It's not theoretical. It is something personal, something internal, something that affects a person, something that allows a person in persecution to say, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Something that enables a person in the moment of ultimate weakness to say, God is my strength. To be able to say, when faced with the worst conditions of life on earth, to still know tranquility within oneself. Now that kind of peace is much, much harder to actually achieve than simply a treaty, a ceasefire, or an economic cooperation. Because you see, that requires a personal decision. It's easy for governments to go to war, for armies to fight, for economic powers to contest. But it's hard to fight for yourself, especially within yourself. And I think that's what the angels were really talking about, that the presence of Jesus is not really just to change the world, but to change me. And every single person who is touched by that Christmas, that first Christmas story, that nativity story, is touched and changed, is touched and changed. And like a domino, it keeps rolling over and over and over, and probably will never stop until Jesus himself returns the second time. At that point, then perhaps the planet will experience peace. The human world of politics and military might will experience peace. Economically, the world will settle down or completely blow up, who knows? But every individual can walk away during this Christmas season, preparing for a brand new year in 2026, by saying, I have peace in my heart, because the God of peace lives within me. You see, God's people have two choices of lifestyle. One is what I would term the wow choice. This is where we live by adrenaline, by excitement, by all that latest development. We're excited by sporting activities, by entertainment, by miracles even that happen. or the money that we make, the new jobs that we have, all material incentivizations. That's one way. Unfortunately, the wow factor tends to be very impermanent, which means tomorrow you may need another wow. The day after that, you may need another wow. So you have one big wow for Christmas, you need another big wow for New Year. And so you have all these shining lights for Christmas, you have fireworks for New Year. But there is another potential mode of life, and that is to live in the Word. The Word that says that on that night, 2,000 years ago, Emmanuel showed himself. God told us, I am here, I am with you. And the presence of that God means we can never be disconnected from him unless we choose to disconnect ourselves, that we will always be taken care of even when it appears to us that our blessings are not flowing. That he will be with us in our lowest moments and in our highest moments, in our moments of tears, in our moments of laughter. When we feel everyone is against us and when we think the whole world is our friend, he will always be there. And so you see this tree, the symbolisms that come for Christmas, it's not just material, it's a reminder of an event that has changed my life personally and hopefully has changed yours or will change yours. But you see, even the Christmas event has to reoccur every single year because it's a bit of a wow thing. Tomorrow the tree will be gone. Next week the tree will be gone. And then we start all over again into the mundane. But the Word of God that lasts forever, it tells us that Jesus is the same throughout time. It tells us that God will be with his people in the worst and the best of circumstances. It tells us that we cannot be defeated because he is our warrior. It tells us that we cannot get lost because he is our GPS. It tells us that we will get home one day because he has made a promise. And if you have that thought in your mind as you approach the Christmas festivities or the New Year ones, whichever you prefer more, keep that in mind, that in order to survive a new year where I believe personally the world will get even worse than it is now in 2025, where the world will go even more mad than it already is, the only way to survive that is to be grounded in the Word, to know that God is with us. Emmanuel. Emmanuel means peace. Emmanuel means presence. Emmanuel means power. Emmanuel means provisions. Emmanuel means we are never alone. And so enjoy whatever plans you have for Christmas, New Year. Give yourself a boost as you begin a new year. And remember the song of the angels, peace on earth, or more importantly, peace in my heart. Have a good Sabbath. Have a good year-end. Have a blessed Christmas and a truly blessed New Year as well. God be with you.